So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and we're back on the test server taking a look at the upcoming Tier 8 American heavy tank. This is the Chrysler Grand Final, and we know it's upcoming because it's got the Grand Final logo, Wargaming.net League logo imprinted on the front of it. And traditionally Wargaming release a premium to coincide with the time of the Grand Finals. And since that's coming up very shortly in Moscow, I believe, we can expect to see this in the shops, I would imagine. Now, originally I'm pretty sure this was going to be a Tier 7 tank, but they seem to have bumped it up to Tier 8. And it'd be interesting to see whether the stats are comparable now. As a Tier 7, it was very powerful. Cynics amongst us would say you can charge another £10 if it's a Tier 8, and Wargaming clearly are not desperate for our money, so that's probably got nothing to do with why they've bumped it up. But it could also be that it was too good at Tier 7 and the super test they needed to either nerf it or move it up a level. Anyway, this is the Brute. It is a big old bugger. It's very big looking tank. Look at some of the stats around it. It comes with a 105mm gun. That's a fairly standard thing on American heavy tanks of upper tiers. Has a 5.94 round per minute rate of fire. Penetration, compared to some of the others that are around at the moment, some of the premiums that are out of the game, is actually very low. 198 is not great. Bearing in mind this will see Tier 10 games. 198 compared to something like an Object 252 or a Patriot or something like that, it's not great. No, Patriot has anyway, whatever, we'll have a look at that comparison in a minute. So 260 though with its APCR, and 53 with HE. 320 average damage, 0.36 dispersion is fairly standard for Americans, but really good aim time, 1.9 is very good indeed. Let's go into the firepower table. So we're talking about DPM of 1983 without any equipment and with only 100% crew, and that's a little poor, to be honest. Could do with doing a bit better. Gun depression is also very poor, -6. Well, it's a rear mounted turret, so clearly that's going to be a challenge for it. Turret traverse is very good for a heavy. 25 degrees per second is very good indeed. Sorry, mouse wobbling around. Hit points 1500 is about standard. Hull armour is extremely good, 152, but very well angled, and 101 on the side, 76 at the rear. So this thing is going to be a, why won't I get rid of that? This is going to be a side scraping biatch. Really good for that, I would imagine. And the turret, look at that, 254 armour on the front, 127 on the side, and even 88 on the rear. Let's hop over to Tanks GG and have a look at a little bit more detail in that. So here we are in Tanks GG with the armour of the Chrysler. I mean, this is just very impressive. So that 180 frontal armour, even on the lower plate, is 215, upper plate 240, any kind of angling, look at that, it goes 280, 290, just never going to pen that if it gets angled. This engine compartment above is not good, so you're going to be an arty's wet dream, but you can't have everything. And arty have been nerfed, didn't you know? Turret, look at that, 260 going up to 300 as you go up around the turret. Just really bouncy. And the gun mantle, don't even try that, 500. Wow. 600, 690. Geez, very impressive. Top of the turret, hang on, let's get it to a position where you'd be facing it. So that's 260 on that rounded bit at the top, and that will never pen. You'll bounce that every day. And even the cupola here, look at that, wow, it's actually got proper cupolas that can bounce shells. So that's 170 base. With the rounding, you're getting 250, 230, 240, 250, 260 even. So you're never going to pen that. Wow. and the little doubly bit of the bit isn't even a shot box, so you can't even hit that. Angling it like this, look at that side armour. .65 mils, 165, 180. That's too much angling there. Yeah, look at that. If you can keep it that sort of angle, 230, 240, 250, tracks will automatically eat everything pretty much. Look at that. 20mm of spaced armour, the tracks count. Yeah, that's the angle you want it at. Look at that too. Go even further, that's 260. Yeah, 260, there you go. Wow, that's very, very impressive. Very impressive armour. Side is flat, but even so it's still 100mm, so that's not too bad. Side of the turret's very well rounded, but you'll pen that with the sort of tanks it's going to go up against. 176 at the rear. So yeah, bit of a beastie. Armour value is very, very strong, and if it gets to angle like that, good luck. Ricochet bounce, ricochet bounce. Yeah. So armour is certainly one of the key values of this tank. And does that mean it suffers as a result of that for speed? Because it's a fairly hefty tank, 60 tons is pretty reasonable. It kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. So it's no slouch by the look of it. 1,200 horsepower engine. It's a big engine. You can see that because it's the turrets at the rear, the engine's going to be in front of it, and that's a big, big engine. 20 horsepower, 20 specific power ratio is actually very good for a heavy tank. Only does 35 though at top speed, so it should get to that 35 pretty quickly, depending on what the ground resistances are like. But you know, pretty good. 14 in reverse and 33.3 in the hull traverse is actually very good as well. So it looks like it's maintained some of its mobility that it had when it was a tier 7. Concealment values, its pants, I believe this thing will come with standard a sort of camo that you cannot change because it wants to keep that logo on there. So I don't know what it's going to be, this sort of charcoal grey black colour. It's possible, we'll see when the real thing arrives. Spotting range 380 is okay. It's pretty good actually. With good crew skills and equipment you'll get that up even higher, and 745 on signal range. Let's have a quick look at it compared to some of the other premiums that have come in. So these are some of the super premiums we've seen lately, to compare the Chrysler against the Defender, the AMX, the Patriot and the Liberté basically. And you can see right away that it's fairly comparable in terms of damage per shot. We're slightly down on go away little table, there we go, slightly down on some of the others. We do 320, the Defender obviously does that massive 440, but the others, the French tank and the Patriot are much lower alpha than this Chrysler. But it is the lowest pen of all of the tanks in these comparisons. So as I say, it hasn't got the benefit of that extra penetration that those other super premiums have got recently. So 198 is a little bit on the low side for its standard rounds. Rate of fire 6.2 is one of the better ones. Only the Patriot does better at 8.6, so that's good. Reload time is likewise second to the Patriot, so a good rate of fire possible for this. And you can see the damage per minute, also damage per minute is 1,983, which is only second to the Patriot, so very, very good indeed. Gun depression wise, as I said, it suffers. It's as bad as a Defender, so it's got Russian gun depression angles, which is -6, is not great, but it's got the best aim time of the bunch. 0.82, I'm sure that was higher on the stats. Anyway, 0.82 is phenomenally good for a heavy tank. Really, really good. And dispersion is also equal best. It's as good as the French tank, 0.35. So good at aiming, good at taking snapshots, Pretty good accuracy for a heavy tank. So the gun, you know, that pen worries me a bit, but actually is very, very useful. Survivability factors, well, it's got the same values, 8 hit points as everybody else. Armour values, it's second to the Liberté in frontal armour, but it's got the best side armour. So this is going to be a boss for side scraping, there's no doubt about it at all. And the turret armour is by far the best in the game. Of these tanks, sorry, not best in the game. 254 is just monumentally good. It's a shame it doesn't have any gun depression, because if it did, you wouldn't shift this for love nor money. Weight wise, it's the second heaviest behind the Liberté. Is actually the heaviest. Oh, that's a surprise. It's got the biggest engine, and it's got the most best sort of power ratio, so it will get away really well, because actually the Patriot 15.17 feels pretty good at getting away, but this thing is considerably 25% better at getting away from the lights, so very good indeed. But where it loses, it doesn't have the top speed, so it's only as quick as the Defender. The Liberté and the Patriot are quicker. Traverse speed, however, as I said, is very, very good. 33.3 is very, very quick, so it whips around fairly quickly, which it needs to, because that it's a big ass thing, very, very big. Concealment, it has, what's that, second worst concealment values. It's a big slab of tank, so you're not going to hide it. View range, it's 10 less than the Patriot, but 380 is pretty reasonable, and with a decent crew in there, you'll get that up pretty quickly. So all in all, the gun depression is a bit of a disappointment, as is the penetration values of that gun. Although, you know, before those super premiums came out, 198 you would have been quite happy with, so you know, it's not awful. But it really is the mobility and the armour that will help with this tank. You will bounce shells all day long. It really looks like it's going to be fun from that point of view. Side scraping in this, getting hull down, and people will have a hell of a job shifting you. It will be a brute in the city, I would imagine. Absolute brute in the city. But it's also got a very, very accurate gun. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting tank when this hits the streets. No idea what the values will be, how much it will cost, but, you know, it's a tier 8 premium, so you're probably talking £35, I would imagine. But we'll see in good time, I should imagine, when this hits the Wargaming shop. So yeah, interesting tank, very interesting tank. It's been bubbling around for a while. People have talked about it for a while in forums and what have you. Looks like we will be getting it pretty soon. We shall watch with interest and see what the price point is, and you know, hopefully get a chance to play with it, because we can't play with it here on the test server. Unfortunately, only super testers can. Anyway, hope this was useful to you. If it was, give it a like and a subscribe if you haven't already done so. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and I'll see you again soon. Gamerdom out.